Would you believe me if I told you that I can get my toddler up and out the door for daycare in less than 25 minutes without a fight like 70% of the time? Because I can, and I'm gonna help you figure out how. Now again, I am not gonna even pretend that this is a 100% success rate because I have a toddler. So like, of course it's not gonna work all the time, but my mornings are way less stressful than they used to be, and I wanna share with you how I got there. If this helps make your mornings even like this much easier, then filming this whole video was worth it. So also, if you're new here, my name is Nikki. I make content all about how to make your life better and easier as you move up in your career, especially as your finances and available resources change. First things first, you have to have a strict wake up time. Think about this as the absolute latest time your toddler needs to be up in order for you to get them ready and out the door. So for me, I know that if I want my toddler to be at daycare early enough to eat breakfast, because there are certain days where it's easier for me to just have her eat at school, she has to be up no later than 7:30. That gives me about 25 minutes to get her up, teeth brushed, hair brushed, dressed, gather her stuff, get her in the car. Now, part of why this works so well is because I have a system, and I'm not the only one that knows that system. My daughter does too. Part of why this routine works so well is because my daughter has pieces of it that she likes executing on her own. So one of her favorite things is actually brushing her teeth. Maybe she's in the minority on enjoying that. I don't know. We taught her a very specific process. She brushes the insides of her teeth first and then the outsides, and then she does like tongue and rinse. And specifically, we kind of go around her mouth. So she does the inside of the left on the bottom, middle bottom, right bottom, left top, middle top, right top. And the camera is reversed, so it's gonna look like I don't know left and right, but you get what I'm saying. And then when she does the outsides, she goes left, middle, right. Because she knows that process and she knows she has to count to 10 for each part of her mouth, I take those opportunities to actually step away in the middle of that routine. For me, this helps not micromanage her. Sometimes if I see that she's being slow, I'm like, we gotta hurry it up. And then it becomes kind of an argument and we get stressed and it's just not a good situation. Whereas if I'm like, hey, let's brush your teeth, I get her started, I get her started counting, and then I walk away to make a cup of coffee or I go to put something in my bag, she'll usually finish the process. I'm not gonna lie, there's times where she doesn't, but I would say a solid like 85% of the time, she keeps going and she does the whole thing. So even if it's not something as complex as teeth brushing, you could have them put their clothes on. Like if you have the outfit already laid out, you can ask them to actually put everything on. And again, you can step away for a second, give them a couple minutes to do it on their own, come back and help them finish if they're having trouble. I just find that having that independence first thing in the morning and you being able to tell them that they did a great job with something is a really good way to start the day. Just make sure that you build in the time for them to do it wrong and for you to fix it, just in case. Another way to speed things up in the morning is to offer limited choices. I know that this is classic toddler advice, but really you can't go wrong with it. So when you're picking outfits, for example, give them an option of 2 or 3 pants, 2 or 3 shirts, 2 or 3 pairs of underwear. That's it. That's still a lot to pick from, but it at least prevents them from like digging through their whole dresser trying to decide what to wear. Want to braid their hair? Do they want pigtail braids or a single braid? If you're eating breakfast at home, do you want eggs or turkey sausage? And then for fruit, do you want strawberries or grapes? Now, speaking of breakfast, I've got a few contingency plans for the days where I can't rely on daycare breakfast. If I'm feeding her breakfast at home and I'm just seeing that it's taking forever, and I start to get worried about the time, I start to combine steps. So I will do her hair while she's eating breakfast, and I'll also start putting her socks and shoes on while she's eating breakfast, assuming that she's dressed. The other alternative is I also have some grab and go stuff that if needed, she could just eat in the car or in the daycare parking lot. Think like granola bars. Now for the final stages of trying to get out the door, it's been hugely helpful to keep items where we need them. Biggest thing that I will advocate for if you have a toddler is to keep their socks where you keep their shoes. I know that socks are clothes and it's easy to want to put them in their dresser, but if you just leave them in a box near their shoes, you won't have to run back to the room when they inevitably forget to grab their socks. And also, I gave up on trying to have cutesy socks. All of my daughter's socks are the exact same white pair with grippies. They're all the same size. So I don't have to match them. They just all go in a box loose and she just picks out the first 2 that she finds and puts them on. It's glorious. Also, we hang up all of her jackets and coats that are currently being used at her level. So we're not having to get them down for her. She can just go to where they're hung up and grab them herself. I do something similar for her hats and gloves in the wintertime. We have a little basket in the buffet in our foyer where she can just go in and grab whatever she needs. Also, my daughter knows where we keep all of those items because when we come home in the afternoon, she is the one that puts everything away. She takes her coat to the coat hook and hangs it up herself. She puts her hat and her gloves in the little basket and closes the door. So she knows exactly where things are, and there's really no excuse for her not being able to go and run and grab it herself. And again, she likes being able to do that stuff herself. If there's things that you commonly forget about in the morning, just set alarms or some other cue that's gonna remind you to do it. An example for us, my daughter's show and tell day at school is Tuesday. So every Tuesday, we've got to bring something that matches whatever letter that they're learning that week. This week it was T, and she was bringing a little toy teapot. If left to my own devices, I will forget that it's Tuesday and I will forget to bring it. So at 7:40 in the morning, about 10 minutes after my daughter wakes up, I have an alarm that goes off to make sure that we grab a show and tell item. Now, when that alarm goes off, what usually happens is I go run and grab the item that we've agreed on, or I just decide on one if we didn't agree on one the night before, and I go and just put it in front of the door to the garage. And that helps me make sure that when we actually leave, that we don't forget it. Now, I'm a huge fan of visual cues. I found that visual cues are one of the easiest ways to remind myself to do certain tasks, and it's made a huge difference in how clean my home is. I actually talk about them in this video right here, so you should go check that out.